Hello, my little wine introverts. Welcome back to Introvert Wine Podcast. We are at episode 13, which is called Spanish Bubbles. And I hope you missed me because I was cooking something really special for you. I feel like it's not a secret that I love sparkling wines. And also I have a very sweet spot for Spanish wine. So these combined created a very obvious topic for me, which is Spanish bubbles. I am also Cava educator. I got the certification a couple of years ago. And that allowed me to go really in the depth of the region, of the wine, and discover a lot of producers, a lot of wines, and dig deep in the history. And my thesis was about the international image of Cava. And I was really curious, obviously, to talk to fellow sommeliers, fellow wine educators, to see how Cava has been developing, what are the current trends, what is the current situation, because there are a lot of changes and sometimes I feel they might feel confusing even for us who are deep in the wine industry, and then let alone the consumer who needs to read all these labels, to understand all of these labels. So I was really interested in speaking with the producers as well, because I feel like their side is not always well represented, but I also feel that they have a lot to say, because these are the guys who are growing the grapes for you and who are producing the wines. So obviously it is important to understand what are the problems, what are the challenges, what they are facing and what they're experiencing, and what also they see as the future and the future trends and the future battles, and how they feel the category will develop. So I'm really grateful that on my path of different degrees, certifications and programs, I meet people like Marta, like today's guest, Marta Casas, the winemaker of Parés Baltà in Catalonia, who are very passionate and somewhat even crazy and very enthusiastic about what they're doing. And I love talking to these people to understand exactly what is the wine, what is the category about, what is the issue, what they want to improve, what they face. And I feel like Marta is one of those people who has her hands and eyes on the real stuff, on the real things that are happening in her vineyards, in her winery. And it's interesting to understand and hear her perspective of what is happening with Cava and the region, of what she thinks are the challenges, the issues they're facing, and also what she feels can be interesting aspects to understand Cava. So I hope you will enjoy this talk as much as I did when we were recording it, because as I said, Marta is a wealth of knowledge and a lot of passion and a lot of data and details in her head that I really admire. So I will leave you to listen to our talk, and I hope you enjoy it. So I'm very happy, very thrilled, very optimistic about this talk today, because I have with me the beautiful Marta Casas. Marta, please introduce yourself.
Hello, Xenia. It's a pleasure for me, an honor to stay here with you in your podcast. I'm Marta Casas, winemaker of Parés Baltà Winery, located in Penedès region and also Cava region. And 22 years ago I started, coming from another field, another kind of profession. I was a pharmacist and I fell in love with a guy. He has the winery, and I learned about winemaking, about viticulture. I went also to the university in Tarragona to study winemaking, and it was only to know, to learn, to discover, and then it came that it's my job, my life, and I later learned about sommelier. And the last thing that I was studying and just finishing now is the diploma WCT in Austria, where we met together, and I'm very, very happy to meet you.
Excellent. I think everybody who knows me knows that I'm very passionate about sparkling wine, and I'm really also passionate and really love the Spanish sparkling wines. So when I was thinking and planning to speak about it, I thought that it'll be interesting and also bring more value to have somebody from inside, let's say. So we're going to use Marta for her inside perspective of what is the, let's say, the current situation, the future news, any changes that the region is experiencing. It's really interesting for me to to discuss Cava now and sparkling wines overall from Catalonia and from Spain, because I feel like there's a lot of changes recently. And I think there are more of changes in the last maybe 10 years than it was in the last 50. So it's really changing very fast, and it's interesting to live in this moment. Tell me about Cava, about, well, the sparkling wines, the Penedès. What is the image of those wines today? Because I know you travel a lot with your husband to different countries and fairs to present your wines. But what is Cava now? What is the image it has outside and inside Spain for people, for consumers?
Actually, it's a topic that's super interesting to discuss because, as you mentioned, there were a lot of changes in the region, a lot of changes in the appellations, not only in Cava, also in Penedès, but mainly in Cava because, there were a lot of news since 2017, 2018, with differences in opinions, in different points of view in the main people inside Cava. And there were changes with some groups. Not only in 2017, it became important in 2014 when a group of people of Cava makers wanted to make different things in winemaking. And this time was when appeared Classic Penedès, this group of people that are increased in number. Of course, with Penedès appellation, there is a possibility to make sparkling wine, and they made this new brand, this new category. Then came the group of Corpinnat. They were motivated to put the name of Penedès or the land where we are. That's important because Cava is spread in different regions, different locations in Spain. And due to the politics, due to the economic process, due to the social moment, Cava was devaluated in image in this moment, and they wanted to put some name or something in the label to know where it comes, where it's made. Of course, the word Penedès was not possible to put because it's another appellation. Catalonia, another time, is another problem because Catalonia, it's another appellation. Barcelona was a possibility, but in this moment was not considered to put Barcelona in the label. And well, thing was, okay, if we cannot put anything, we are going out because we want to put our region. Corpinnat means born in the heart of Penedès region. Pinnae is the word Penedès in Old Catalan. Cor means heart, and nat is born in Catalan. So born in the heart of Penedès region. Later of this, Cava appellation decided to change the rules, and now since January 2022, it's possible to put Barcelona and other words in the label to respond this question to know where is the Cava made. And now we can put Comtats de Barcelona and Noia Foix, for example. That means the two rivers that we have in the region that are delimited to these two little rivers. You have seen these rivers that are not the biggest in the world, but well, we have these and are the limits of the geographical area. So for this reason, Foix, that's the river Foix, and Anoia, the river Anoia, are in the labels now. So it was a big change and a big challenge as well for the Cava appellation. But well, not enough to have another time this other group coming back to a Cava appellation because, well, when all is broken, it's difficult to make another time the joint. Also, the problems are that the climate is changing, the mentalities are changing, and a lot of different situations are involving that. Maybe it's not a crisis because the crisis it's big in economics, in climate change, in environment, but it's a real future to develop in Cava, in Penedès, in the whole region. And little movements are happening because little farmers that were always in the cooperatives are making their own wine for a long time. It's not something new. They are developing as well the custom crush facilities. Right now, there are 9 in the area. So these facilities hire the equipment, all the services for these people that want to revalue in money their grapes. And it's becoming it's said the premiumization of the area. So it's not one factor, it's multifactorial parts that are developing in the region that maybe we need more time, maybe we need more group of people making different things, but now we are observing that we are in this way to change. And also because all of the appellations, Cava and Penedès, are focused, also Corpinnat, also Classic as well, are focused all the time in organic agriculture. That's super, super interesting, this, because the transformation of the region was done 40 years ago with Albetinoia, with a pioneer, then Recaredo with biodynamics, a lot of farmers changing the mentality, beginning from the first step, that's the vineyard. And here is that it's the most important thing in the region. The vineyards, the location of these vineyards, that with the drought and with the climate change, there are something changed, a lot of things changed, but we are improving in this landscape. That's very, very important.
I agree about this overall movement toward organic, because I feel like a lot of regions, a lot of producers speak about it, but here I see it on a regional, on appellation level, and also it's very consistent, because I've heard maybe 5 years ago about the conversion of different regions to be fully organic, and we'll discuss that in a second. But I've seen that it has been consistent for Cava and for Penedès and for Corpinnat for years. They started speaking, as you said, about it way earlier. And in the recent years, it's becoming a legal obligation, like on appellation level, which is not very spread in the world, I would say. It's not, usually it's the either private unions, like example of Corpinnat, like if you have a private group of people and you decide in the region or even across regions in the countries to become organic, it's your private initiative. It's not on the country or legislation level, or by different producers. For example, I want to be organic, but my neighbor is not. So it's not, you cannot oblige your neighbors in all the appellations to be like, like, guys, we're going to be organic. But here I feel like it's a different strategy. So it's obviously there are people, producers who are ready to already organic for years now, but also I see this movement from top down being like, okay, guys, like we see perspective in that, let's all adhere to the rules. And there are categories that I think you mentioned as well when we were discussing this, is that Penedès Classic will be converting to fully organic, and then I've also read about Cava de Guarda Superior to be 100% organic. When you speak and when you think about it, what is the key factors behind it? Is it for economic reason? Is it for premiumization, as you said, for the value of it? Or what do you see yourself as a producer of Cava? What are your benefits of being fully organic?
The reasons and the factors are a lot, multifactorial, but I think the most important thing is that 30, 40 years ago, I write here 22 years ago, the sensation for the emotion for the farmers is that we are believing in our landscape. That's very, and also we have the climate. Now it's changing. Of course, 22 years made a lot of different harvests, and I have seen a lot of different things in the weather. But we have a good climate, we have a good location, we have the Mediterranean Sea bringing these fresh breezes in the mountain. In the flattest part, it's different. In the coastline, it's different. But in the mountains that we have just in the north part of the region, that's the border of the region, we benefit a lot of this. And now with the climate change, you can see the differences. When is the moment of the ripening process or the vegetative cycle is when you see better that in the flattest parts, the plants are suffering more than in the highest part. Highest part, for people that are hearing us, is 800 meters maximum. 800 meters compared to 200 or 100, that's the flattest part, or at zero level. That's also vineyards there in the coastline, Sitges, Vilanova, San Pedro de Ribes. So it's very different, the behavior of the plant and the stress level, the hydric stress that they have. So the factor that came, first of all, for becoming organics, that was the first thing of the appellation in Penedès 30, 40 years ago, started the first pioneers, was we have the good conditions of the weather, the good conditions of this land, but well, we didn't know that the climate change would be very, very severe. But even with this, we think that we can resist, we can make changes. Of course, we need water. That's a group of farmers and also the government making these changes. Maybe we are too late because we knew this 10 years ago, but well, never is late to change the mind, never is late to have another time the good way to go. But we think the soul in Penedès is that now, we have a good land, we have a good varieties, that's the other factor, these varieties that maybe because of the trends in the past, in the 80s, 90s, where the varieties planted in order to copy the neighbor. Of course, it's plenty of Cabernet, it's plenty of Merlot, it's plenty of Chardonnay, but we are realizing through the pass of the time, that our own grapes, Xarel·lo, for example, Xarel·lo, that's the versatile white variety that we use for Cava, we use for still wine, we use in different winemaking styles. It's the variety that permits a lot of things. Also, the varieties like Grenache, the ancestral varieties like Forcada, Moneu are coming with new approaches for this climate change. These varieties are supporting better the drought. Of course, with no rain, we don't have possibilities, but we are seeing in these 10 years that we are using these varieties, also Carinyena Blanca, also Sumoll, this ancestral variety that was forgotten for many years ago. And now we are seeing that, of course, due to the trends in the moment of the Cabernets and Merlots, was not any possibility for Sumoll. Sumoll is a red variety that it's light in color, light in body, but with high acidity. And this is the point, the acidity. We are losing acidity with the drought, but these varieties like Malvasia, Sumoll, Xarel·lo, Grenache, Forcada, Moneu, Carinyena White, these varieties are keeping more acidity. And this is the point when the winemakers went to the farm, went to the country, went to the vineyards, it was the moment when Penedès changed. And it's my opinion, of course. It's my vision because I experiment this and I lived this in the area. But I remember when I arrived, a sentence of the grandfather here in the family, Cousine family. The winemakers are only with the white coat inside the laboratory. Never they are in the vineyard. And now all the winemakers are in the vineyard. All the winemakers are involved in this organic winemaking, organic farming, biodynamic as well. And a lot of schools are doing these courses. I'm involved in them, teaching when I can, or explaining in conferences, in lectures about the biodynamics as well, because it's something that brings an opportunity, brings something to be against this moment that it's a challenge, the drought, the climate change, and of course, all began with the behavior, with the emotion that we can do it. We can be important in the world of wine. Of course, it's something that's little by little, with a lot of effort, with a lot of time, but there is the passion. If we don't have the passion, if we don't have the energy to be involved in the wine, and you need a lot of time, a lot of money as well. And passion. If you don't have this energy, nothing can happen. So I think we have a group of winemakers, group of farmers that maybe are my age, a little bit more, that we have done a lot of things, but now we have a young group behind us, making also new styles, new winemakings, sometimes out of the rules. Yes, out of the rules, I mean different styles of sparklings, ancestral method, natural wines as well. But this makes an improvement and this view to go to the premiumization. That's the topic that I'm developing in my thesis for the Winemaker, to explain the past, the present, and the future, that the future will be just in the doors now.
It's such great topic that I cannot not ask you because climate change, I know we talked a lot about it and it's very different in all the regions. But I've heard so many times that people tell me, oh, it's easy to be organic in Spain. It's sunshine. There is no wet regions almost except for Rías Baixas. So it's like, what is the issue? Everybody can be organic. But knowing you and witnessing as well your last two harvests, and when you speak obviously of the drought, we can understand that maybe drought is the major issue for a lot of producers and regions in Spain because it's, well, a very warm country, hot in some regions. But also I've seen you struggle with some rains at certain points and hail, things that normally did not happen in Penedès, in Catalonia. So climate change, in my mind, people should not only think about it or there is no enough water or it's too warm, because we've seen with you this bizarre patterns that it's not only, well, as you said, you always knew that water is an issue in your region and it has been, let's say, tried to find solutions, but that now you're faced with different climate change solutions that you are not prepared to face because they were not happening in that region. And I've heard so many of this in very different regions because obviously we knew that Bordeaux and mildew are kind of old friends. They know how to handle this. The Bordeaux mixture invented, so they aware they have this issue. But when we speak with you or different producers in Spain and they're like, oh, we have mildew, but we have no clue what to do because it's not typical, like we never faced it. So again, I think that it's important for our understanding as well as the climate change is not only the drought, and it's also so many different things that come very unexpectedly because I'm not sure we discussed this vintage for you, but in previous years, I think I've seen the images like of hail, of floods as well. So this vintage also was not an easy one, I guess, for you.
No, the 23 and 24 were very, very challenging. First of all, because of the death of some plots, or not the entire plots, but you have seen plants that are dying in your face. That's something terrible. You want to cry when you see this. So then you have seen also the limited growth of the canopy. That's another issue. If the plant can resist but cannot make enough shots, enough leaves, the production is very, very low. And then you go to pick the grapes and there are no grapes. So something that's terrible and makes you cry because it's like you are feeding a baby and this baby is not walking, not screaming, not talking, because it needs the energy, it needs this water, this of course there are nitrogen, organic composition in the soil, but the main thing is the water. So it's this moment when you go to the vineyards that you have this pain, this sensation that you are losing your babies. And then, of course, there is things that can make, and also the cycles. The cycles in this problem of the climate change are the main issues. Because this year, in 24, the spring was perfect, something unexpected, that we said, wow, we have a gift of the heaven. But then came the hail. No, of course, the hail was not everywhere, but affected a big part of the Penedès area. And the thing that was unexpected was the borderings of this effect of the hail were affected as well later. Why? Because the water was still going, the rainfall was super nice to have, but with the hail, after the hail was a problem because we didn't observe very well, because it's difficult. After the second period of rainfall, we had an attack of mildew that was very, very severe. We didn't know the little injuries in the leaves, and it was in the leaves mainly, that it was where the mildew was attacking very, very, very hard. If you had time and logistics and a lot of people to attack this, to fight, you had time to stop it. But then you have seen where you didn't arrive, the mildew was a disaster, and you didn't pick anything from there. And also then came another thing that now it's new for us. That's another pest called mosquito verde, the green mosquito. This mosquito was new in Mallorca, in the islands, in Balearic Islands, some years ago. They are now developing natural things. Of course, there are chemical solutions, but we are in organic mainly. So Penedès will be next year 100% organic. So the solutions in pesticides, or pesticides in this case, are not a good solution. So we are developing, or people, the scientists are developing in natural ways to avoid this. But it's very difficult because it's said that this mosquito comes because it has not a depredator, ecology chain. It has not the depredator, so the population of this mosquito is grown very, very fast. So here is the problem. The peaks and the valleys of this climate change produce in the harvest. Sometimes you have this water like this year, and then we have the hail, or we have this mildew, and then the mosquito. So never ends. And then also the other pressure that we have is with animals, the deers and the wild boars, that this year, due to the better rainfall, they didn't need to go to the vineyards because they had enough water, because we have seen some attacks in the vineyards, but not a lot. Last year was terrible. Last year, they ate a lot of grapes. They buried and dig everywhere. It was like you wanted to pluck the vineyard. They were there doing like the same. So it was terrible last year. But this year, the attack of the animals was not too hard, but the mosquito came, so new things and new challenges to be against. And well, we will see. In next weeks, there are some meetings with scientists and farmers that are investigating with it, in order to know if there are natural things to be against of this new thing that destroys, the mosquito destroys the leaves. So if you have the leaves burnt, it's like burning. It's something very strange. You see the vineyard in brown color. That's very scary to see in July or August, the vineyards in this color. So, of course, if you don't have chlorophyll, you don't have photosynthesis. If you don't have photosynthesis, there is not the ripening process well done. So this is the last problems. So always, this is these cycles that you see good things and then another beat in your face that you have to fight.
No, I feel like also with the climate change, some things move in the weather patterns, and then you face, as you said, the mosquitoes, which is a new problem. And I recently talked to a producer from Mendoza, and she spoke about ants that also eat the grapes when they're ripe. And she's like, but this is also very recent, because we knew ants were there the whole time, they just exist. But something shifted, that they do not have either enough birds or enough other pests that kind of regulate the process, or also they had enough other kind of food or nutrients somewhere else that they didn't think or didn't go in the vineyards, but now they do. And she's like, again, like, it happens, and because it's something new, you need time to adjust. And if you don't have the resources, like you said, like, you're possibly lose a lot in this. And for small and medium-sized producers, this is really, I think, horrible not to even understand or be prepared of what can happen next, because it is so out of your control. But I'm really curious, coming back to the grapes, because I think it's a great transition maybe between climate change and premiumization, is the local grapes that you mentioned, because I had the chance to taste some of them, the ones you mentioned, the Moneo, Forcado, and Sumoy. Sumoy, your Sumoy is brilliant. Sumoy, I think, changed my mind, and I was like, please, everybody plant more of it. But you mentioned it more in the sense of them being more adapted, well, locally to the climate change because they're more drought resistant, they keep the acidity, which is great. But for me, the question is, with these varieties, when you speak about the premiumization of the wines, do you believe they can also be for you a tool to add to the premiumization of your wines? Do you see this potential in these grape varieties as well?
Absolutely, absolutely, because it's the differentiation for our area. You have to see the history that we have behind us, that of course it worked for this time, for the trends in the moment in the 80s and 90s, but now all has a different approach, a different point of view. And if you tell to the young winemakers coming now that they have a lot of ideas to make a Cabernet Sauvignon, they will say, what? What are you saying? Cabernet? No, no more Cabernet, no more Merlot, no more Tempranillo maybe. And yes, what about the Sommelier? It's interesting, it's challenging, it's grape that when you introduce it in a tasting or in a new market, you see the faces. Maybe it's not the beloved variety that everybody loves, but it causes different sensations. And also Xarel·lo, also Grenache, a lot of people know, but different characteristics of Grenache that we have in Priorato Grenache, and it's very different from here. So you can see that the soil, the weather, we know perfectly that they affect the characteristics of the same variety. And well, it's this level of acidity, level of different aromas. This is clue for our area. If we want to revalorize, if we want to improve, if we want to push up the region, we have to make different things. To make different things, it means different varieties. And the varieties that were natural from here, that were our personality. And this is the main thing, to have our footprint, our natural footprint that was Malvasia, was Xarel·lo, was Sumol, and now this Forcada Moneo that maybe they are super old, and now we are rediscovering, because it's that I'm doing this 4 years making Moneo and Forcada. Every year I'm doing different things in winemaking in order to see, well, what you offer me in order to know if it's better to put in clay or in wood. Now I have better the idea. So Moneo, for example, is developed very well in clay. In wood, it's not the best, but you can make a little proportion of wood for Moneo. But Moneo, that's the red grape, very acidic and with a lot of aromas and this touch of color that's violet, super interesting, the color. It's perfect in clay. And then Forcada, I'm experimenting that with maceration in skins. It's developed better with more body, with more long aftertaste. And then with barrel, maybe yes, but if you don't put barrel in Forcada, this white variety that also has a high acidity, and the best thing, low alcohol degree. These varieties are producing less level of sugars, so perfect for this moment that people are asking for a low alcohol degree. And the another trend that maybe we can discuss, these non-alcohol or low alcohol degrees in wines that all the time a lot of importers are asking us, do you want to make it? I have a surprise. Maybe I explained to you once, but I'm doing experiments with flowers. It's a beverage, it's not a wine, but well, it's coming. I'm doing the second experience this autumn, because I have realized that roses have 2 cycles of flowers, and I use the petals. I use the just the main the center part that has the yeasts, and with water we are macerating these petals. The petals, when are fresh, they bring a lot of color and a lot of aromas. Of course, with water we need to add sugar. Organic sugar, of course. And I add also lemon juice, with lemons. We have lemon trees. Mm-hmm. We have a garden. We have the roses here in the vineyards planted and the lemon trees. And I'm doing this experience to achieve something, to not waste grapes, because at the moment I can't see in the future, but in the moment, for the present, I don't want to waste grapes to make a low alcohol wine. But on the other hand, I can use the flowers, I can use the lemons and the water, that's tap water that mm-hmm. we can use to ferment, and then to make a sparkling water with rose aromas. And well, we have to perfectionate it, but it's the future, maybe, I don't know. So in order to being advanced of maybe 10 years far away, looking to the future, can be, or 5 years, I don't know, can be the new beverage for these markets that are now looking for these different alcohol degrees and well. Mm-hmm. But now, with Malvasia, with Forcada, Moneo, Sumoll, and Xarel·lo, we can make low alcohol degree in this order of 11, 11.5, 10.5, but well, 11 it's the average, 11 alcohol degree, that's the average of this.
It's really interesting what you said, that you're not ready to use the grapes for this low, no alcoholic wines, because I haven't yet tasted wine, because most of them I feel like de-alcoholized, that keeps the flavors and the aromas. You feel that it is not at the level yet. So I have to agree with you here that maybe using other products, fruit, tea, whatever there is, can give you really interesting and exciting results that will taste and smell way better than the zero alcohol wines that are on the market now. And I agree with you that maybe it needs to take a little bit more time to try to achieve at least, maybe not the same, but at least slightly better quality of those wines, because the zero alcohol beverages that I really liked were mainly teas or any other fruit driven, not wine. Wine has been, there's some examples that you're like, I see potential at least in them, but they're not at the level. So I agree with you that keep your grapes for your great wines. and when there is a technology, because I feel it's coming with such a high demand, then you can experiment on the grapes. But I agree with your approach. So you can use roses maybe now. That is also very exciting. And I believe a lot of people like the smell of roses. But I want to take you back to the discussion of new varieties and also of new demarcations like the Comtats de Barcelona. For the consumers, do you think that it is maybe slightly more confusing because there is so much new stuff, like new regions that are demarcated? At least the Comtats have Barcelona, so everybody knows Barcelona, but others maybe are not so familiar, and then on top of that you're going to have a variety that they don't know, like Sumoll. Do you feel that maybe that's too much for consumers now to kind of digest? What do you think?
Of course, consumer always have the problem to understand all the labeling. That's super complicated. I know, and I agree that poor consumers that always have to read, always have to know, and it's a mess for them. With Cava, I agree that Barcelona word in the label, it's important. It's to situate, to have the idea that we are just close to Barcelona, 50 kilometers south. That's super important, this. But the rules always, are complicated, are with a lot of politics behind. And Barcelona is only allowed to the guarda. Guarda is another word that the consumer doesn't know. That's this period of time that the yeast are inside the bottle. That minimum in Cava is 9 months. So another time we are pushing the big size of production. That's super big, super large in Cava. And then for the short or a premium and super premium batches of Cava, it's in the rules that it's guarda superior. Of course, superior means more time. That's the reserva and gran reserva. That means more months, the 18 and 30 months in the bottle for the yeast. But then you are forbidden to use Barcelona. You have to put the regions that are sub-regions in Catalonia, that are Foix-Genoia for Penedès region, and other names that nobody knows, even people here living doesn't know where these locations are. But well, we are in the same position. That's like a circle that never ends. Maybe it's better to put Barcelona in every label and then the sub-regions. But well, the rules are in this way. And also the consumer always have cloud in his eyes, because always it's difficult to understand all the categories in the label. Of course, if it would change and it's possible to put Barcelona everywhere, even it's a Gran Reserva that's called now Guarda Superior, better for us. But well, it's politics behind, it's maybe economics, I don't know, that it's the problem. And then when the same consumer is in the restaurant here in the area and in the wine list, not only have this problem that it's sparkling wine Cava, Guarda Superior, or Barcelona Guarda, then they have the other groups. That's the same method, the same grapes maybe, and the same time aging. Could be. That's Corpinnat group, a Classic Penedès, or no appellation. That it's another possibility, that there is a producer with no appellation, because, well, perfect for them, that they think that they are stronger, the brand is stronger than the appellation, so perfect. Would be maybe the future. No appellations anymore. But well, it's something that we can't do anything more. Only education, and making these tastings, making these sessions to introduce the news in the labeling. But well, it's a hard job.
Yeah, no, I mean, it takes time, and I believe there are regions also with a very difficult and very deep classification. Think of Burgundy. And well, people still love Burgundy and drink Burgundy and try to understand what is the difference between the villages, the Grand Crus. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. But I think your point here that a lot of consumers discover this through a special brand, through a special winery, is also working a lot. If you have a brand label and person is introduced first to Parés Baltà and they drink and like it, and then through you they discover maybe what is the region, why it is organic, why all this changes. Maybe it's exactly one of the ways how to do it, and you cannot educate everybody at once, sadly. But I believe through brands that are talking at least not only about their wines, but also about what's happening in the region, in making in this way the consumers discover maybe other wineries, and then also having more loyalty and preference for that region. I think it's a great way, definitely. But I'm curious to understand, because I have read so many different definitions of what premiumization is. What do you think is behind it?
The first thing is to have better benefits for the grapes. That's essential. Here in the region, we had a lot of history behind us, a lot of years with the farmers suffering for not receiving the profits that they deserve, because it's a hard job to manage a vineyard. We know when you are in the vineyards, when you are in the wineries, you knew very well that there are highest costs every year more, and they deserve, the farmers, to be paid properly. So this is the first point. The premiumization starts here. And what the farmers have done, because the prices are not rising, very, very slowly, of course, but very slowly. They made their own wine. And here is when you are doing your own wine in the custom crush facility, in your own winery, or in joint venture with another farmer, doesn't matter, you realized that going to the consumer, directly to the consumer or directly to the retailers, it's the first thing that you can do in the local region. Of course, when you want to go abroad, you need distributors, of course, but these distributors that understands you, that they understand you, that you are a little farmer making super quality. And here's another thing: the quality. First, the gaining enough profits to evaluate, to have more value for these grades, and then the quality. Of course, it's essential to make high quality wines. This is the thing. And then that the consumer understand you and they will to pay the value that it costs. That's very, very important, that the customer understand that when there are low prices, something is behind this. Of course, could be a good quality for this price, of course. I don't see on the contrary. But when a bottle costs 15 or 20 euros, is because there are a lot of effort doing a lot of things behind this bottle. And little by little, the customer is understanding it. And here in the region, it's the wine tourism, good tool to make this education to the customer, because sometimes are coming people from Barcelona, from that are local, but a lot of times more people are coming from the tourism, from Barcelona or from wherever, and they understood a lot when they are foreigners, because they are more used to pay more for a good wine, for a good bottle of wine. And now the local people are understanding this. This is something strange, sorry, because when you are a producing area, usually there is no enough education and no enough understood of the winemaking and the process that influencing the price of the bottle of wine. So it's now this wine tourism that grows a lot. These 22 years that I'm here, I have seen a very huge growth of tourism. And it's very important that each winery has the wine bar or the visits, or sometimes in a joint venture as well. Some wineries are joined to make it happen very, very, very easily. And well, it's these two things: the price of the grapes, super important to be rising every year in order to be more premium, and then the quality and understanding from the customer due to the education that we have to do. So this is a big chain to be in order, like an orchestra, in order to have this premiumization, that also with the value of organic wines, the value that Penedès would be next year, the first in the world 100% in organic farming and in organic winemaking. That's super cool, super important to explain to the world of wine that here it's a movement, and with quality in the focus.
I feel like most of the time when people speak or hear premiumization, they only speak about the final price, that, oh, because the price is higher. And it's important that you mentioned that there is many layers behind it, especially quality and as well consistency of being organic, and also investing in your grapes, actually. But also I feel like what can also drive it, and what is the wine tourism example is showing us, is the exclusivity. Because as you said, the people who live in your region, for them it's not exclusive because they're from there. They have access to the wines every year, all the year. They know the producers. They already know between themselves the value of each of the producers. So they are not having this exclusivity factor. Whereas imagine your wine tour, or maybe not even a wine tour, just a tourist who's coming from Germany, or I don't know, any US or Canada, any country, and they're discovering the grapes that they don't have outside of your region, and they're discovering as well a lot of value in producing in organic viticulture and also in the production that takes for traditional method, because it's not a fast method for sure. And I think this exclusivity also adds to the concept of premiumization, because if you can find it everywhere in any supermarket in a cheap price, that's not premium and that's not exclusive. So I think this factor also is quite important. So that was very interesting for me to can understand all of this happening, the organic movement, the varieties, also the fact how you deal with the climate change issues and what is coming there. And as well mentioning the Penedès converting to be 100% organic, I think is very important on a different level, which is legal. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a lot of changes and a lot of positive changes that are not always easy to implement. As I said, it takes time. So I feel like it's interesting to witness what you guys are living through. It's not easy for you, but it's interesting to witness, let's say, for the wine community to be in this moment, because for many other regions, these classifications or these rules were made centuries ago. Like if you think about the Bordeaux classification, it was way before us. So we cannot influence and understand maybe in depth why it happened so. But here, seeing this kind of evolve through our eyes, it's very, very interesting. And thank you for explaining the details from the producer perspective, because it's always interesting to see what it means for actually the people who are making the wines, not only the consumers, not only the politicians or governments who are deciding the rule, but what it means for the producer side to live through all of these changes. So that was very great for me. I feel like I've learned what I usually learn maybe in a month's time of visiting the region. So thank you so much, Marta. That was really a pleasure and super, I think, educational, valuable for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Xenia. For me, it's also a pleasure. And, once you want to learn more about the future, you can come back.
I will, I promise. Well, thank you so much for being with us, for listening to this beautiful episode. And I feel like for me, for example, I have learned a lot, but also I feel has proven some points to me that, first of all, I feel like the future Spanish bubbles is, first of all, organic. And then the second of all is probably ancestral. And I think speaking to Marta has proved some of the points and also gave a lot of different insights on why and how it has become the wine it is now, and how probably it's gonna be developing in the future. And as I said, it's really exciting from the outside to see those changes and live through them. It is not easy, trust me, for the winemakers to be going through a lot of things at the same moment. But I feel like for us, witnessing this development, this evolution is really a beautiful thing. So if you are ever in the region, I do really urge you, go and explore Cava and specifically Catalonia and specifically Penedès. And if you're in the vicinity, I'm sure reach out to Parés Baltà, visit the vineyards, visit the winery, taste what we were talking about. They have beautiful cuvées that I'm sure you're gonna enjoy, like the Blanca Cuisine, the Rosa Cuisine, the Xarel·lo one. And obviously they also make the still wines that we were discussing. The Sumoy is mind-blowing. I really love this variety, and I feel like Marta has changed my perspective of what it can be. And well, if you want to learn and explore more about Cava, I feel like Cava Dio is doing a lot of great stuff as well. They're doing a lot of tasting activities, some courses, so subscribe to their newsletter and follow all the changes, all the things they want to tell you about. And again, thank you for being here, for listening to this episode. There is some stuff coming up at the end of the year as well. We're not done yet for this season, so stay tuned. And thank you for sharing the love of wine. So like, share, subscribe, and spread the love of wine. Ciao.